Hello, genealogists. It's Craig again, and just genealogy. So tonight we're going to talk about Captain Zackquill Morgan, who was a captain in the 12th U.S. Infantry during the War of 1812 and his demise. So Captain Zackquill Morgan, he's deceased of the 12th U.S. Infantry. And you remember a few sessions ago, we talked about pensioners of 1818, and Section B dealt with widows and orphans of the War of 1812, these half-pay pensioners for 5 years. And what we have here is a look to see if we can find Zackquill Morgan, and we in fact do in Virginia. And he's the third name there, Zackquill Morgan's widow. He's a captain. His original commencement of pension is on 24 August 1814, and his widow's getting $20 a month, $240 a year for 5 years. So remember the 1814, it'll come into play later on. Because he's a captain, I want to find out, is he a regular Army captain? Is he a militia captain? What is he exactly? I'm just going off what the register, the pensioners of 1818 Secretary of War report said. It just tells me he's a captain from Virginia. So when I go to Heitman's, which is located on fold 3 or in book form, it's right here on my shelf. It says that his name is Zackquill, which is not correct. Morgan, he's born in Virginia, and he's appointed from Virginia as a first lieutenant in the 12th Infantry on 12 March 1812. Well, that's actually before the war started in June in 1812. And he is appointed captain also in the 12th Infantry, because no unit is mentioned, 20 September 1813, and he dies 24 August 1814. Notice that's the same date of death that's in the Secretary of War report. And so I think we have the same guy. So what I'm interested in is finding the payments that are made to the widow, because you never know what they're going to tell you. So the place I'm going to look is the records of the accounting officers of the Department of Treasury. That's record group 217. And back in 97, I made some additions and adjustments to a finding aid compiled by Bill Sherman, and published this in 97. And it's been around a long time, and a lot of people have stolen it from the National Archives. So, but this is the place I want to look. And in entry 727, I find settled accounts of pension agents for payments to widows and orphans of veterans of the War of 1812, July 1818 to August 1825, 51 boxes. Well, it seems to me that that's an appropriate time period. These are, according to the finding aid, arranged numerically by account number. They're truly arranged by Paymaster and then account number. And those account numbers recycle about after 10,000 and something going down the line. And there are related registers to these payments in entry 587 and 588, and we'll look at those. And again, these are the accounts filed under the Act of 16 April 1816. And so that's exactly what the Secretary of War report said the Act would be. And these are 5-year half-pay pensions to widows or orphans of soldiers who died in the War of 1812 or who had died later as a result of injuries received in the war. The latest one that I've been able to find is a major in Maryland who dies in 1823 of wounds received at the Battle of Fort McHenry. A typical account consists of an auditor's report, account current, abstract of payments, pension vouchers, list of unclaimed, blah, blah, blah. And these accounts were settled by the second auditor and subsequently transferred to the third auditor. So there is a finding aid to these, because you don't want to deal with these 51 boxes based on abstract number without knowing what abstract number goes with what pension agency. So John Vanderreet, a now retired archivist in the National Archives, as one of his things, created a finding aid to the abstract numbers so you would know what abstract number there was for each state. And if you need to know, if you can't find that finding aid or you'd like to know before you get to the National Archives, just put something down in the comments and I'll tell you what abstracts there are for the state that you're interested in. But in Virginia, they were 1337 and 2147. At least those were the abstracts that of the Virginia abstracts that I actually found that there was an Elizabeth Morgan, the widow of Captain Zackquill Morgan, who died on 24 August 1814 of fatigue. And ever since I first encountered this record, I knew that I too, at some point in time, because my lifelong saying is live tired, or maybe not so tired, but that I too will eventually die of fatigue. But here we have these two abstracts, these two payment abstracts, but we have a problem here. And that problem is, what entitles this woman to that 5-year half-pay pension? Well, the Act of 16 April does, for sure. But what else does a widow have to provide in order to obtain a pension? One, she has to provide proof of marriage to the soldier. Well, that is not here. And she has to prove that she's not cohabitating or has not remarried. And that is not here either. So what do we do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if there's any information in the payment ledgers to give me some idea about these payments. The other thing, I'm going to examine the paperwork in these files and see if they lead me somewhere else. Well, in each one of these two abstracts, these two accounts, there is a piece of paper that says Paymaster General's Office, and they're signed by Robert Brent, and there's a date and there's an account number. And Robert Brent is the Paymaster General of the United States Army during the War of 1812. He's also a colonel of the District of Columbia Militia. So that's a clue. So I need to look for, in addition to look for the payment registers, I also have to look for the Army Paymaster accounts. So I do find the Army Paymaster accounts in entry 516. Can you guess what record group they're in? Record group 217, 1,736 boxes. And I really believe over the past 35 years, I have touched every one of those boxes, one way or the other. They are arranged by paymaster and then numerically, and they, about every 10,000, they change. And they include a lot of things other than just widows and orphans of the War of 1812. There are many, many, many different things. Now, they could be forwards, they could be pay, they could be settlements for soldiers who have died on the frontier. There are so many things that they could be for. A lot of times they're for back pay. Many times they are for officers being paid, being reimbursed for the money they spent on their valets, for example. The paymaster accounts after 1861 have not been accessioned by NARA. I'm anxiously waiting for that moment to happen. Someday it would be nice. They probably just don't have space for them, is what the real problem is. So when I look at these settled accounts, Robert Brent is the first paymaster in these settled accounts. His boxes are all in the very beginning of that 1,736 boxes. And in those boxes, there are application letters for these widows and orphans. So based on the date that's on that piece of paper that's in the payment and the account number that's there, I find Zackquill, a set of application papers. Zackquill Morgan and Elizabeth Madeira were married by the Reverend Robert Manley, who later removed to Ohio in the presence of Christiana Scott, wife of Raleigh Scott, on 28 April 1805. And so what we have is an affidavit from Christiana Scott saying that she was present at the wedding and that Robert Manley's left town, so they can't find him. So there we have proof of marriage. And there's also an endorsement from the county clerk saying that he knows this person and she has not remarried and she's not cohabitating with anybody and she meets the requirements to get the money. But also in that application letter is a list of all the children under 15 years of age. Now, I don't think there are any children over 15 years of age, given the difference between the date of marriage and the first child, but there might be one, at the most two. But here we have, from Virginia, dates of birth. Now, remember, in Virginia, dates of birth being collected by the state don't start until 1853. So here we have the dates of birth of 6 children in the 1806 to 1815 timeframe, specific dates of birth, and then Drusilla Ann, who actually is born after the death of her father. Now, if this were a New England soldier, Drusilla Ann's name might have been Bonomi, because that is a way that many New Englanders identify a tragic event in a child's birth, when when someone is born after the death of their father. So this is what I call cool stuff. We also learned that where else would a Morgan live but Morgantown, Monongahela County, Virginia, now West Virginia. So we want to go back and look at those registers for fun. And so there are 2 sets of registers. Entry 587 is 24 volumes, and they are by state. So each volume is a specific state. I probably have scans of each one of these volumes among my collection, since I've gone through them all. And it looks something like this, and it will give you that account number, that 3016 in the case of Zackquill Morgan's widow, the name of the soldier, his rank, the relationship, is it widow, is it child, the date the pension started, what the rate is. And over on they're 2 pages wide, and over on the right side, if she remarries, it will give a date of remarriage, and it may give you the name of the person that she married, but many times it does not. And then the next is a single volume. And the reason we have this volume is those others were done by the paymaster. This one is done by the third auditor, who in March of 1821 took over responsibility for the payments. But notice the date here is 1811 to 1833. So there are some payments that the third auditor paid prior to 1821. So you may have to look in both the 24 volumes, the state of among those 24 volumes, or you may have to look in this volume to get to the answer that you're looking for. Now, just as I was putting this together, I realized that in the case of Zackquill Morgan and Elizabeth Morgan, I had never looked at the settled accounts for payment of accrued pensions, final payments under the Act of 6 April 1838. And you may remember I created a finding aid to those, so they're very near and dear to me. And so as I was preparing this discussion, I went and looked to see if Zackquill Morgan was in fact in the book. Again, something I'd never done before, shame on me. And on page 307, there was Captain Zackquill Morgan, widow of Richmond, Virginia, 1851, account number 147. Now, what's interesting is, remember, this is a 5-year half-pay pension that she applied for in 1816 and was paid through 1818. One wonders, is this her, or is this an heir coming back for what she missed, or exactly what this is? So I don't know what this is at this point in time, but you can be assured that it is now on my list of things that as soon as the archives opens up to normal people, and I can get up there, I'm going to go find this account number 147 in 1851 and figure out what it's all about. And I'll report back to you, maybe in 3 years, 2 years, I'm not sure. Anyway, some of my friends have complained to me that I don't give you an action item, like I'm supposed to tell you to subscribe or something, or do this or do that. I'm actually thinking about creating the opportunity to, I present a question, you answer it in the comments, and then we all get together live and discuss the question. I don't know how that works out, but we can figure it out. If you'd leave me some comments, please. Anyway, I have a discount code for you at Heritage Books for the 2 books I talked about today, the Finding Aid to the Records of the Accounting Officers and the Lost Pension book. it will provide you with a 10% discount on those books should you decide to purchase them. Be reminded that this is just genealogy, where we're converting people doing genealogy into genealogists day by day. If there's something that you want me to talk about, please put it in the comments. I look forward to your comments. Please comment. And oh yeah, please subscribe. And oh yeah, tell your friends. Today, we reached 100 subscribers. Thank every single one of you. Thank you so very much. Have a good time. Remember, be a genealogist.